All right, in this video, we're going to make a prediction for the next steps that are going to play out right after the Satoshi identity trial is pretty much wrapped up here, which is any day now. There's going to be a freaking ruling in the Kobe v. Wright trial, where the trial court determined that Craig Wright's not Satoshi Nakamoto, and now it's going to go into a written judgment here in a moment, any day, and then it's going to go to appeal. And then the next move after that, we're going to talk about here the major impact about what's going to happen next according to the trial that was said. And that's specifically the smart contract patent. But today, I had a space with on X today, and I'll post a link here to the video and a card. You can check it out. And about an hour into this space, Vince asked me. He says he wants to know about the smart contract patent. He says, was the nChain issued a smart contract patent on? What's the deal with this? Who was issued a smart contract patent? So I'm going to give you that citation. But first, let me give you some context as to how I even know about this or even involved. All right, I love to learn from stories from the great Zig Ziglar, so let me share you mine. 2022, I read the Satoshi Affairs, maybe a year before. Either I read the Satoshi Affairs by Andrew O'Hagan, and I'm learning about Bitcoin, trying to figure out the differences, and I had the blockchain. I had the forks from the Bitcoin forks, and so I'm thinking, like, what's really going on here? So I read the Satoshi Affairs, and I decided, I was like, it would be great if I could meet some of these people, because putting a face with the name and actually not just somebody on the internet makes all the difference for me. So in the Satoshi Affairs, there's a patent attorney called Jimmy Nguyen that's talked about, and he's this mysterious attorney that is living in, I guess, from LA, hired by Calvin, brought into the picture into this meeting of the minds that Calvin and Craig Wright and Stephane Matthews had. And Jimmy Nguyen now becomes their attorney to push this project forward. So he's going to be giving a speech in Silicon Valley. I set it on my calendar, and I freaking go. Meet Jimmy Nguyen. He's a doll of a man. He's freaking just a gem of a person. Sweetheart. Sit down, have a little dinner after the speech. And Jimmy says, I want you to meet the most important man in Bitcoin. I'm like, at this point, this is the first time I'm meeting anybody. I said, all right, who's that? He points over to this guy, Xiaowei Liu, S-Crypt. It's a humble Chinese man that was a few words, but we got to talk and became friends, and he invited me to go to Dubai. He said, there's going to be a conference coming up, and you should really go. So I book a ticket with him, and we take a flight on the freaking Dubai Airlines, the longest flight of my life. Horrible flight. Long, we're standing up on the plane. We get there, it was worth it. We get there and so at the conference, there's a keynote. And this keynote has been scrubbed off the internet, and so is the information on it. It used to be on CoinGeek's YouTube channel, but it's been scrubbed. So the keynote was Dr. Wright, and he gives this formal notice to Ethereum, and he says, Ethereum, you say you're open source. You say you're permissionless. Say that I can do whatever I want. Well, I'm going to go ahead and build your product. We're going to build your product, Solidity, on Bitcoin. And he says this, he says, we're not going to end you, but we're just going to build your business onto Bitcoin. And you can join us at a very low cost to help all your users. He's saying this in a very, very aggressive way on the keynote. He says, if you don't, well, we were just issued the smart contract patent, and you're in patent violation of the smart contracts. So you either have a choice. You can either join us and build on it or not. Now, let me just back that up and support with what it says. So I'm at the thing, and I'm literally like applauding in the crowd. It's like such an amazing concept to think, like, wow, wait a second. You're saying you got a smart contract patent, and you're going to let the people on Ethereum build on Bitcoin? How's this going to work? So here's a tweet, a message that came up from Robin from Vianix at that time, and you can probably search for it. It says, Ethereum smart contracts can be seamlessly converted to BSV smart contracts to create funnel adoptions. Transpiler.bitcoinsv. It's transpiler.bitcoinsv. So Ethereum smart contracts, this is Robin from Vianix, can now be seamlessly converted into BSV smart contracts through seamless adoptions and funnels. It's like, from what I understand, the developers can do it by clicking a few clicks, and then their Ethereum smart contracts can now become BSV smart contracts on Bitcoin. And that's transpiler.bitcoinsv. So that was announced at that conference, and then the keynote is like driving it home. And it was Scrypt that announced it. So that's why I'm sitting with Scrypt and Xiaoyi Lu, and I'm like, he's telling me, I'm interested because I travel there with him. I'm his friend. So I'm thinking, I want to learn about this. And it turns out that it was all true, that he did build this, and it was a project that had been working for a long time, to answer Vince's question in more detail here about giving us some foundation here. So they've been working on it for a long time. I believe you can still find the Satoshi videos that Xiaoyi Lu had done on his Scrypt channel. He did a bunch of interviews with Satoshi, like class with Satoshi interviews. And he'd been working on this for years and building this integration. So it was done. Now here's the patent. All right, so this is going to be for all you patent trolls or anybody who wants to read patents. It's coming at you right now. All right, it's U.S. patent 11,120,437B2, issued on September 14, 2021, applied for on February 2017. It registered automated. Register and automatic management method for blockchain enforcement smart contracts. The invention to fields of tokenization or blockchain smart contracts. It provides technical agreement which simplifies the automatic management of contracts. This is on the granted patent, issued granted. And so it provides a technical agreement which simplifies the automatic management of contracts. And it's, again, U.S. patent number 11,120,437B2, issued September 14, 2021. Intellectual property on the smart contract patents. That's the U.S. Patent Office. Granted. Not applied for. Granted. So, looks like in this case here, the keynote was telling the truth about this patent being issued. Now, is this a valid patent? Well, I guess it probably comes down to, does the U.S. Patent Office just grant patents for anything? I don't know. It's been granted. It needs to be tried in court and determine whether or not it's going to be a stand up or not. But at this point, it's granted. And so the next move that Dr. Wright talked about at trial was, after the case was done, they would then begin the patent litigation suit. And this is my opinion, it's the most ripe patent. It's the biggest one, and it's part of his plan that he talked about in the keynote, which was, Ethereum, we're going to go ahead and build your product on Bitcoin. Here's the Robin from Vianex quote about how Ethereum smart contracts can now seamlessly be converted onto BSV smart contracts with the transpiler.bitcoinsv.com. So we're going to build Ethereum on Bitcoin. That's happened now. And then you can then have notice to start moving your business and your products over to Bitcoin, or you're going to deal with this patent. You're dealing with patent infringement. That's notice to Ethereum, and he calls out Vitalik, because Vitalik's always been his arch rival. Vitalik hates Craig Wright. He calls him every name in the book. He calls him everything he can. So Craig Wright aggressively goes back after him and says, hey, this has been issued. You have a choice to either come over to Bitcoin, or we'll see you in court. And so that in the trial court was the next move that was talked about happening. So that's going to be literally only we'll see how much longer. We'll see when the appeal gets done, or whether it's going to be after the appeal or during the appeal. But it's definitely seems like it's ripe right now. And with the stuff that Veritasium and Reggie Middleton's doing in patent litigation, and the big giant 800-pound gorilla that Reggie Middleton has talked about being nChain, and nChain just this company that no one knows about, but they have the majority of the blockchain patents, and this smart contract being one of them. So, how this is going to play out? Well, I mean, really, how's it going to be playing out? I would say that what's going to happen is they're going to come to an agreement, and likely build on Bitcoin. Because why would they want to be in court when it's cheaper, faster, and easier to just, and already set up to just go onto Bitcoin? And they're not going to be in patent violation. And then as far as I know, they can still operate, Ethereum can still operate and do everything they're doing, but it becomes on Bitcoin now. And it's still done through the same technology, the same software that they're used to using. And that's really where the entrepreneurs come into play here, because like there's a challenge out there to entrepreneurs like myself to really wrap their head around this. So I'm making videos like this so we can come together and begin to solve these problems of like putting businesses around solving this problem. Because just because the tech is there and ready doesn't mean the businesses are all set up. It's so ripe for entrepreneurial adoption and building businesses and doing this. It's so freaking ripe. It's like a miners coming out to mine gold in the mid 1800s in California here. I mean, literally, it's that ripe. Not too many people understand it. Attorneys don't, entrepreneurs don't, but the ones who do and actually take the time to read this stuff, learn about these patents, learn about the regulatory compliance of the BSV blockchain, and then identify the opportunity right now, which is one of them is like the freaking Ethereum smart contract integration onto Bitcoin. Well, that seems to be a huge one right there. Why isn't it happening? Well, maybe it's marketing. They don't know about it. It's entrepreneurs not taking action, building businesses to create enough user revenue, because we need revenue for the users. The users need to make money. If they're not making money, they're not going to do it. So these entrepreneurs have to change our mindset to that. And if we continue to get the word out to entrepreneurs, make challenges like this, literally it's nothing but a freaking golden opportunity for small business entrepreneurs who take the reins of understanding the technology, learning it. There's a Bitcoin BSV class, BSV courses that you can take on their BSV blockchain website. It goes into all the details about Bitcoin, what the white paper says. I haven't learned it all yet, but people who have the technical knowledge and should want to, you can literally learn about it for free, and then ultimately dive in to building a business using this transpiler. It's free, open source. I mean, this stuff is all open source right now. Nobody seems to know about it yet, and there's been very little migration. I mean, if any, from Ethereum to Bitcoin right now, if any, right now, because it's just unknown. So that's the challenge. Call out to everybody there. Thanks for the question, Vince. Great space today. And right around an hour mark in the space, we really start going into this discussion in detail. So I'll post a link at the end of this to the space. You can check it out after the hour mark. We really go into this Ethereum smart contract patent and discussing it and theorizing. And again, this is for entertainment purposes only, but I challenge anybody to read that patent, okay, and say that patent is bogus. And anyone who doesn't believe in patents or property, then what it is you just don't believe in property rights. So you might as well just give up all your property. If you own a house, if you own anything, just throw it in the trash, because you have no right to any of that property. You don't believe in property rights, because patents are about property rights. Property rights are the fundamental bedrock of our civilization. The First Amendment, right to own property, right to work. And so having the right to protect property is a fundamental God-given right. And so get off the freaking chain of like, oh, patents are nonsense. That's the boomer world. Dude, the right to own property is not boomer. That is a fundamental God-given right, okay? And protecting property is what everybody's doing out there right now. You're building a fence. You're locking your front door. You're lodging a document, a deed over at the county recorder's office. You're taking your private keys on your BTC or Bitcoin wallet, and you're putting it in a lockbox somewhere, safety deposit box. You're protecting your property. And intellectual property is the patents that get granted. That's the protection of this type of property, intellectual property. So it's the same concept. It's a fundamental, most important right that we have. So let's support it. Let's back it up. Let's back up people like Reggie, Middleton, and nChain that are freaking fighting for the rights of the little guy. In a way, I mean, nChain's a giant, but nobody seems to know about him. All right, so thank you for the question, Vince. Be sure to subscribe. Check out the video at the end with the talk here that we did on the space. All right, share the video, and I'll see you at the top. This is Gavin.